Ugly.
Five.
Who are the best and who are the worst NFL teams? It's Mike Gill's Fine Five and Ugly Five, brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back on 97.3 ESPN FM, South Jersey's football station.
All right, here they are, the Fine Five and the Ugly Five. Here on 97.3 ESPN. Last year, my Fine Five, or last week, my Fine Five, very similar. My Ugly Five, very different. All right, starting with the Fine Five, here's my five best teams in the NFL. Number five, this might be a surprise to people here. Number five in my Fine Five, how about this one, PG? I go the Carolina Panthers as the fifth best team in the NFL. Over a 6-game win streak for Carolina. People don't realize that. They only give up 11.5 points per game. I like defense. They force 13 turnovers. I got Carolina 2-0. Number five in my Fine Five.
Yeah, been pretty impressive, especially with the injury to Kuechly. Hopefully they'll get him back after the concussion, and of course to Kelvin Benjamin as well, that injury.
Number four, I love Arizona. I like them more than I did at the beginning of the year. Carson Palmer's playing really good, and they're still playing defense. My concern when Bowles left was what was the defense going to look like. I love Bruce Arians. I think he's just a really smart head coach. 2-0, Arizona.
Another injury to that team. Andre Ellington's out. Chris Johnson's in there. And Larry Fitzgerald continues to catch touchdowns. So there you go.
Number three, they haven't moved. I put them in at the beginning of the year. They're sticking there. 2-0, Cincinnati. Andy Dalton looks a lot better. Hasn't fumbled, no interceptions, and they are 2-0. Big game for them this week, but I like Cincinnati as number three in the Fine Five.
Yeah, and Gio Bernard, he had himself a nice game. Jeremy Hill did not, fantasy-wise, but of course, the two running back system like those two guys. Yeah, good choice there.
Numero deuce. I got the Green Bay Packers 2-0. Next 4 games at home. They've won 10 in a row, excluding the playoffs. They have won 10 straight home games. Obviously, they lost that game in Seattle last year. Aaron Rodgers, probably the best player in the league right now. I got Green Bay number 2, just where they were last. My top 3 are the same. Actually, my top 4 are the same. The only one that changed in the fines are Carolina is in, Kansas City's out.
That's another team with injuries. Eddie Lacy, he goes out. We know about Jordy Nelson, but Aaron Rodgers, it doesn't matter who he's playing with. If you have Aaron Rodgers, of course you're going to be up there.
Give me your deflated balls, your recording equipment, and anything else you got. And I'll take the Patriots as number 1 in my Fine Five. The defending champs are the best team the NFL has to offer. Tom Brady, 7 TDs, no interceptions.
And that was about, a -1 spread against Buffalo. They were toying with them at times. No problem for Brady. And Rob Gronkowski, what a comeback year this guy's having.
He's been unbelievable. I know a guy in our fantasy draft drafted him pretty early and got laughed at, and I said, that guy's pretty smart.
Yeah, everybody's an expert until week 1, I guess.
Hey,
right?
I was with you, Alan. I was with you. All right, these are my Ugly Five. Last week I had Tampa, Oakland, Jacksonville, Cleveland, and Washington. This week, number 5 in the Ugly Five, I'm going Tampa Bay. Look, I think they stink, but they went to New Orleans and won. That's not easy to do. So I'll give you credit. I moved you out of the number 1 spot down to number 5 in the Ugly Five.
Hey, Jameis Winston, you can say it. He outdueled Drew Brees in that ball game on the road. Good for him.
Number 4. Last week they were number 2. They dropped down. They won. And I love Amari Cooper. He had an unbelievable week. Michael Crabtree played great. Derek Carr was back. And the Raiders beat the Ravens. They beat a legitimate franchise. So I got to give them credit. They weren't number 2 in the Uglies this week. They fell down to number 4.
Yeah, they're not there yet, but they do have a feature running back, I guess, now with Murray. He's getting the ball a lot, so.
That Cooper's a beast. That Cooper is
and finally,
a beast.
They're going to change their football field. No more second base at midfield. It's going to be a football field from now on at the Coliseum.
Number 3, they're 0-2. Only 3 teams have a worse point differential than the Saints do this year, and they lost at home to Tampa Bay. That makes you one of my Ugly Fives. You're the 3rd worst team right now for me in the NFL.
Yeah, they lose Jimmy Graham. They trade him away. I don't know what their identity is. They got some problems.
Number 2, I know they won this past week, and they have a 500 record for the first time since 2011. They won 5 games that year. It's the Jacksonville Jaguars. They were actually the 3rd ugliest team last week, and they won and yet moved up to number 2 only because they are the Jacksonville Jaguars. That's something that would happen to them. Win and move up in the ugly list.
Yeah.
I think it's warranted.
Well, I mean, that was a good win, a tough win for them against Miami.
Yeah.
That's a little bitter rivalry there, so good win by the Jags.
And my worst team is Chicago. They gave up 48 last week, about 50 the week before. Their defense is awful. They hired John Fox, who's a defensive-minded guy, and they still can't stop anybody. Jay Cutler's hurt. Alshon Jeffries is hurt.
Yeah.
They're a dumpster fire, and they are the ugliest team in the Ugly 5 this week.
Now, I notice a certain team that wears the color green was not mentioned.
I didn't put the Eagles in, and the reason I didn't, Pete, is because, number one, they're playing too good defensively. I mean, they are playing good defense.
They are, yeah.
They're not an ugly team. They're an ugly offensive team. But this isn't who are the 5 worst offensive teams in the league. These are the 5 worst teams in the league, and I think the Eagles' defense should be commended. They're close. There's a lot of teams having a big old fist fight in a steel cage to get in those uglies, and they are right there, but they're not quite there yet. You fall to 0-3. Guess what? The Ugly 5 might have a door open for you. That's our Fine 5 and our Ugly 5, brought to you by Dr. Lyle M. Back. Every week at this time, listen for the Fine 5 and the Ugly 5. You can always listen to it again on our website, 97.3 ESPN.com. Mike Gill in the Sports Bash with another qualifier for the 99 bottles, October 2nd, at a damn good sports bar in the Tropicana. You're having a chance to win Eagles-Bills tickets thanks to Coors Light, where it's $5, 40 ounces that Friday at a damn good sports bar inside the Quarter Tropicana. You must be present to win. We will see all of our qualifiers out there next Friday with a chance to win Eagles-Bills Club Box tickets from the station, hooking you up with Eagles football tickets. 97.3 ESPN.